Evan didn't buy the notebook. He didn't remember finding it. One morning, it was just there, on his desk. Black leather, blank pages, like it had been waiting. He opened it out of curiosity, and right before his eyes, words began bleeding through the paper. Not drawn, not written, just appearing. Some nights, he'd wake up and find whole pages he didn't remember writing, filled with things he'd never say, memories he didn't own. It knew everything. Things he'd buried, things no one else should ever see. The diary was reading him back. Then came the first instruction. Clear, urgent, and impossible to ignore. Burn the red door, though Evan had no idea what that meant. He'd never seen that door before, not in this house. But now it was there, bold, red, waiting at the end of a hallway that didn't exist yesterday. It led somewhere, downward. And the deeper he went, the more the house above seemed like a memory, fading too fast. It was watching him, pressed behind the walls, like a memory trapped in concrete. And its eyes followed wherever he moved. Every page he never wrote, but somehow did. Each one whispered back fragments of a version of him that shouldn't exist anymore. His hand moved, not by his will, not by muscle memory. Something else was writing through him, and what it wrote ended him. The diary had begun rewriting more than paper. Now it was unspooling his memories, stitching in moments he never lived but couldn't deny. It smiled first. The thing in the mirror. It wasn't him, but it knew everything he was afraid to remember. It wasn't just his story anymore. His sister had found her own diary, and the pages were already halfway written. They weren't stories anymore.
You can't escape. We know everything.
They were mouths, and all of them were calling him home.
Join us.
This wasn't the end of his story. It was just the last one he'd get to write. Himself.
Every morning, he wakes up more tired than the night before. His limbs feel borrowed, his memories rearranged. It's as if sleep belongs to someone else now, and they're using it to live. He tells himself mirrors play tricks in the dark, but lately, they move before he does. They blink when he doesn't. And once, just once, his reflection smiled back when he was still frowning. He doesn't dream anymore, not like most people. He hosts something else, feeds. It watches through his eyes now, waits behind flickering glass, and the moment he blinks, it takes another step closer. He stopped journaling years ago, but now there's a book on his desk, half filled with symbols, thoughts, sketches, each line written by his hand, but never by his will. Some pages are signed, not by his name. He's lived alone for 5 years, 1 bedroom, 1 bath, but last night he woke to a hallway with 7 doors, none of them locked. Some led to the past, others to places that knew him far too well. He installed the camera to prove nothing strange was happening, that the shifting furniture, the missing time, were just dreams, but the man on screen watched him sleep and blinked twice before he even woke up. He hadn't invited anyone in for years, but the hallway had names now, carved into plaster. One glowed faintly when touched, his, and beneath it, a second name, a name he somehow recognized, though it was never his to know. He knew it before the smile. The reflection hesitated, just enough to be wrong. And when he turned around, there was no one there. But in the glass, something remained. Watching, waiting, smiling wider every time. In sleep, he sat across from himself. But the other version knew more. Spoke things that burned his ears. When he woke, the room was normal. But he knew things he shouldn't. Memories of a woman he never met. A scream he never heard. Blood on his pillow. That wasn't his. Something shifted behind him. Quiet, deliberate, like breath held too long. But the TV was off. The house was still. He turned slowly. Nothing there. Just a lamp and a wall. But the shadow wasn't his, and it had already moved. She came every night now, always at the edge of waking. He couldn't move, couldn't scream, but her voice pressed into his thoughts like smoke under a door. Not angry, not kind, just certain. Like she was stating facts she knew he would soon forget. He should have panicked. Blood down his neck, shirt damp with it. But there was no pain, no fear, only a dull sense that something had crossed over. A line blurred, a door left open overnight. And on the other side, someone had finally noticed. The voice on the phone said his name, said things only he knew. But he never opened his mouth. It was like hearing himself think, out loud, and from a different place. The hallway grew colder with each word, as if the house itself was listening and learning how to imitate. He didn't ask where she came from, and she never explained. But each morning, the space beside him was colder than the air, like something had been lying there all night, watching the ceiling, waiting for him to dream again, like they both knew. They were sharing more than just a room. He tried to leave, but the hallway kept turning back on itself like a looped thought. Every time he blinked, he found himself back in bed, awake or not. It didn't matter anymore. He wasn't alone, and maybe he never had been. Maybe he was someone else's dream now.